This is the Makita FN001G 40 volt brad nailer. Okay, so just a quick backstory. When I was first looking for a brad nailer, first question I had for myself was, do I really need one? When I first started woodworking, I really didn't find myself looking to use nails because I used screws most of the time. I did some research on YouTube and I discovered the Ryobi Airstrike brad nailer, and when you watch reviews on YouTube, you'll find that this guy beats a lot of the other top tier brands in the US, and this is a highly regarded, highly rated model. So this has been the brad nailer I've owned for maybe the last 2 years, and it's the one I've used every time I've needed to do any nailing. So this is really my basis for comparison when I'm trying this one out. Let's talk about the main differences. Number one, you can tell just by looking at it that the Makita is obviously smaller and it's more compact. Number two, the overall mechanism. Inside this unit, there's a piston to punch out those nails. The Makita, there's actually a video on the internals of this model, and you'll see that it has this giant spring in it, and that's what's pushing the nails out. So the other big difference of these two units is the depth adjustment. So the Ryobi, you can adjust the strength by turning this knob, and you have a micro adjustment here. The Makita, you really only have one way of adjusting, and that's through the micro adjustment here. With the Ryobi, there's a switch here wherein the nail will fire when you depress the unit on your workpiece, and then there's another setting where you have to actually fire the trigger each time. The Makita doesn't have that feature. Is that a deal breaker for me? Not really. I am not a speed brad nailer kind of guy because I'm just a DIYer and I tend to work with just single pieces. I really take my time before I decide to fire the nail. If you're a manufacturing line or you're looking to produce things quickly, that might be a deal breaker for you. You might want that quick fire setting. For the Ryobi, it can take 16 to 50 mm brad nails. For the Makita, it can take 15 to 40 mm. The last difference between these two units is the Makita is weather resistant to a certain degree. When I watched the video, it showed it being rained on. Now, would I ever leave this out in the rain? No, I would never do it, but it's nice to know that if I accidentally leave it out in the rain, it's protected. Okay, so I prepared a test for both these units. We're going to drive it through plywood and a 2x4 piece of pine. For the Ryobi, we're going to be using a fully charged 4 amp hour battery, 18 volts. For the Makita, we'll be using a 2.5 amp hour 40 volt battery. Both are fully charged. Both have 38 mm nails loaded onto them. All right, let's try it out. That first shot with the Ryobi on the minimum setting went a lot deeper than the other 4. This one was actually a misfire. Now I suspect this one went a lot deeper because it was the first shot after I had not used the nailer for a long time. I had just plugged in the battery and it was the very first shot, so maybe it had some stored pressure in it or something. And if we look at the Makita with the lowest setting, the first shot was the weakest. As I did the other 4 shots, it's actually perfect at the minimum setting. It's just below the surface of the plywood. So if I was actually using that unit, I would probably keep it at the minimum setting. Maybe that's a factor of it being brand new. That's why maybe the spring still has a lot of punch in it. I'm not sure. Okay, so now if you look at the max setting, I would say both did fairly the same. Maybe the Ryobi went slightly deeper, maybe, but they all went too deep for my taste. Okay, now let's try the mid setting. So for the mid setting, the Makita definitely went deeper, and the Ryobi I would say is about perfect. Maybe 1, 2, 3, yeah, 3 out of the 5. These two may be a bit too deep. This is something I can work with in terms of putting putty over it and then sanding and then painting over it. Yeah, it'll cover it up nicely. If I was using the Ryobi, I would probably use it at this setting. If I was using the Makita, I would probably use it at the lowest setting here. And no jams after going mid and max on the Ryobi. If I'm looking at the whole picture and all the features, the Makita definitely wins for me. It didn't jam at all. The Ryobi jammed on the lowest setting. It jammed 4 times out of 5. I had to unjam it. If it does jam, there are a number of screws you have to remove to unjam it. So I would assume that it's designed not to jam because it would be such a pain to unjam it. Now, I haven't experienced a jam with it yet. Maybe I was just lucky out of those 15 shots, but it hasn't jammed yet. Overall, I choose the Makita because number one, I think I can get used to that mechanical spring action feel. There's nothing about it I don't like. It's just that I was brand new to the sensation. Number two, the size. It's more compact. The IP65 rating is a great bonus for me, just in case I accidentally leave it outside in the rain. It certainly felt like it had a lot more power. The single adjustment I actually prefer now. After using both units and conducting that test, I actually prefer that I only have one adjustment to worry about and I don't have to worry about how the two adjustments work together or what's the best combination. The only drawback really I think of this model is the nail length capacity, because this only goes up to 40 mm. It would be nice if it could go up to 50 mm, but again, how often do I really use 50 mm nails? Not that often. A lot of times I really don't go over 38 mm, but also I really only work on plywood, so that might be a factor for you. This is now going to be my go-to brad nailer, and I'm really looking forward to finding excuses to use brad nails in my future projects because of this unit. I mean, I really like it. Thumbs up.